Hi, welcome to Life for Five with Honeycomb again. It's Colin and Deri from Honeycomb. We've had a question come in since the last one of these that we did, and you can see it at the bottom of the screen there. Any tips for supporting the transition from industry to consulting? So tips for the firm, I guess the consulting firm, receiving people from industry, and we see a lot of that, and we've worked with a lot of clients in that space. Deri, straight over to you. What do you think about this?
Yeah, sure. It's an interesting one, actually. We're seeing this more and more firms trying to hire people in who've got the expertise and teach them how to be consultants. And for those who've done that, and I know, Colin, that you did this back in the day in your transition from military into consulting. I transitioned more from academia into consulting, which is similar but not quite the same. What we see often is that like people struggle a bit with this transition. So in terms of supporting it, my kind of first thought is, if you've got a solid, clear, well-defined competency framework, that defines the expectations that you have of the people that are coming in. And what we normally find when people have come in from industry is that their performance against those expectations is all over the place. So they'll have areas where they've got extreme spikes of capability where they're 1 or 2 levels above where you might expect them to be. And they'll have areas where they're way behind. So if you've got someone who's joined as a grad, they've moved through steadily and they've done your training and they've had that exposure, they tend to have a pretty even profile with, a few ups and a few downs, but broadly tight around an average performance for expectations. When someone comes in from industry, that profile is all over the place. So my number one tip would be get an accurate view of what they're capable of right now, identify the areas where they're way behind, and double down on reinforcing, upgrading them in those areas, but don't lose their strengths, because a big part of what you brought them in for is that deep areas of expertise. So that's where I kind of initially go with that, I think. Cole, what about you? What would have helped you when you first moved into consulting from more of an industry background?
I'll reach way back into my memory banks. I think I certainly agree with all of that. I think the reason why people hire people from industry, they're thinking often about delivering consulting projects, and often the consulting projects that are live for them at the moment. So they hire for things like either technical knowledge or skills like project management or leadership and things like that, and perhaps forget about the broader skills package that a good consultant needs. I think what would have helped me was a richer understanding of what the role actually is and what we're trying to do and how we add value to clients. Yes, I came in perhaps from an extreme industry example, coming from the military, but I remember sitting with other people coming from engineering industries, for example, and we didn't get staffed immediately onto projects. And for a little while, we were sitting, talking to each other, thinking, well, once we get on a project, what does it look like? What are we going to do? I remember going and asking some people who just finished a project at PwC, what were the outcomes? What were the outputs? What did you create? Can I read the reports? I was quite sort of fascinated. So I think just understanding generally what the job is, what it entails. And I think about that in the broader context. So we often use the term trusted advisor as I guess what you're shooting for. You're aiming to become a trusted advisor with the clients that you're engaging with. And that's a journey, and it'll be later in your consulting career, typically, when you perhaps can feel like you're achieving that status and that level of relationship with clients. But it's just an understanding of what does it mean? What does it mean when you're a trusted advisor? What are the behaviors that you're demonstrating? What's it going to take in terms of creating the authority to be one? What your interactions look like with clients when you are progressing towards achieving that status? What it means in terms of your influence with them? Because those interactions, for example, at that level are very different to the sort of interactions you might have when you're, let's say, just managing a project. And that understanding just that difference would have been, I think, quite valuable for me. So that's probably the things that I would, I guess, recommend, understanding the fundamentals of the role, how you add value, and what it really means to be on a journey towards trusted advisor status. Did they make a bit of sense to you, Deri?
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. And it brings to mind, actually, the trusted advisor piece is one of the things that we see more and more in the market for that consulting clients care about is really deep expertise.
Absolutely.
So if you're transitioning in from industry or you're hiring people in from industry to your consulting team, you get that deep expertise immediately earlier in the career than someone else might have. And that really drives that trusted advisor status, as long as you are learning the human skills and the client interaction skills and the consulting project management to go alongside that and interact appropriately to bring your expertise to bear. But it's a big advantage, I think. So yeah, I'd say that's our kind of top of mind thoughts on Live for Five. Yeah,
it would be great to hear your thoughts as well. If you have any comments, please do add to this. So wherever you're seeing this, add a comment or and scan this QR code up in the corner here for more information.
Thanks, everybody.